China is giving me some serious concerns, and it's not. I'm not sure it's all just FUD either. In fact, I was reading an article or listening to a podcast on CoinDesk, and this guy was saying that. I mean, he was getting deep in the data and talking to some actual miners in China and stuff, and he said there are some clues pointing to the idea that this isn't just the usual China FUD. And he didn't
Hmm.
really expand on that too much, but shit like that seriously concerns me. But then I read this morning that the Chinese miners are already like either moving or making plans to move to a different country. So
Which we've
maybe,
discussed,
yeah,
that it will
yeah,
flow to another part of the world. If China shuts it down, it will find a way. And believe me, those miners, they have all the options in the world. If they're good miners, they've got a ton of cash to be able to do that.
yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard for them just to leave their country and go start up somewhere else in the world. And somebody, there's almost 200 other countries that will accept that.
Yeah, so it might be true short term, but and then in the long run, ultimately bullish. It's
Yeah.
hard to
Well,
say how long the bull run's going to last. This could end up being this could end up looking like a small dip in a very, very long bull run, right?
that's what I'm hoping for. And
That's
I
what I'm
think a lot of the
hoping
people
for.
that we talk to are hoping the same.
Well,
Right?
what's the alternative? What's the alternative? That this is the end of crypto or just the end of the bull market? It's hard to imagine it's the end of crypto, but if it's the end of the bull market, then we could see our gains just completely wiped out, which would really suck.
Yeah, and yeah, it would suck. I'm with you on that. So the one thing I wanted to bring up, and since we're talking about China, is if mining gets reduced, there's less supply. And we know that crypto, the reason for Bitcoin being so successful is that it's a limited supply, it's a limited number. So if mining is being inhibited and shut down, wouldn't that be a bullish thing for crypto long term?
Yeah, no, you would think so, right? But I don't know enough about the mining situation, but it does appear just seeing the new not just the news, but the developments in the mining world and the reaction to it that the market is somehow dependent on the miners beyond just supply. And I don't know what that dependency is because they seem to have such an outsized effect on the market, right? More than just the supply issue. And I don't know what that is. I mean, where does the hash rate come from? Does that come from the miners?
The hash rate, yeah, actually, I don't even know if it's AI. It's certainly not some person back there setting it. The more miners that come onto the blockchain, the harder the hash rate becomes. It's an algorithm based on how many miners are actually on the blockchain. But
Well,
who
well,
actually manipulates that? Uh, is it Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto himself? Probably not.
well, if the value of Bitcoin is dependent on the hash rate and the hash rate is dependent on miners, how does Bitcoin work after the last coin's been mined?
Well, then there's a finite supply, and it's like everything else. It's a rare item, right? I mean, you look at it like gold and silver. What if gold and silver actually run out, like oil? You know how oil keeps going up when there's oil shortages? I kind of have to look at the other assets that are out there, and oil is a great example of it. Every time we have an ordered oil shock, what happens to the price? It doesn't go down, it goes up, right? So in my mind, Bitcoin should operate the same way. Once we reach that last Bitcoin, the people who hold it are going to hold that value, and there's going to be a bunch of people that want to buy that value.
Well, maybe, right? But I also think it's a little bit dangerous to lean on that idea too much or even that analogy because oil ultimately is very difficult to replace. Obviously, they're trying. They've been trying, but it's very difficult to replace. I'm not sure it's that hard to replace Bitcoin, much like let's say Yahoo was the dominant search engine, right? It's technology. You know how easily technology can theoretically be replaced. Will it? Maybe not. Maybe it has first mover advantage and it's too entrenched. Maybe, but maybe over time that disappears.
Mm,
On the span of decades, right? In 20
yeah.
years, maybe something supplants Bitcoin. And unlike oil, it could be an easier transition than we think.
Well, we think, I mean, 20 years, we can't even imagine what's going to be available in 20 years in the technology. Look back 20 years and ask yourself, holy cow, technology wise, did we ever think we'd be this far along? So I think you're right from that standpoint. If you're taking a long-term view of it, if you're taking a kind of an interim or shorter term view of it, I think supply shocks will have an effect on the price. My guess is that the price would actually go up. Um, Mostly go up. There might be an interim down depending on the news, but mostly go up. And so if we see China kind of continue with this, we're going to have turbulence because China's cracking down. But as those miners start moving and people start seeing that there's still going to be continuity with that, and as there's a small supply shock, I think the prices are going to rise on that information. So ultimately, China doing the regulation is it can hurt, but I think long term it's going to backfire on China in many many different ways. Even on the U.S. as we begin to regulate further and further. Um, so whoever regulates will probably not be the beneficiary of what the outcome is of cryptocurrency.
But
That's the way
that
I see
really,
it.
I mean, that's a really great point, and that makes me wonder if there's something more going on with China than we know, because why would they give up their Bitcoin power? I mean, obviously they want to eventually have a CBDC, you know what that is, right?
Yep, that's
Um,
your that's that's your central bank digital currency for
yeah,
China.
yeah. So their
Yeah.
play is probably to have their own CBDC. Fine, but if they know they're just giving up control of, are they just okay with? They can't control the rest of the world. The only way they could control the rest of the world's Bitcoin is if they if they stay the leader. That's what doesn't make sense to me. Why would they give up their ability to control the rest of the world through Bitcoin hash rates and miners and all that stuff?
It is a very interesting question, and I'm just as perplexed as you are. You would think China wants to dominate in every category, and one would argue that they are in a lot of categories right now. Why would they want to give this one up?
And so that's what makes me think, they're not dumb. What's their plan? We cannot maybe predict what their ultimate strategy is here.
Well, their digital yuan, I think, I think you're on the right track with that. I think they want to kind of usurp Bitcoin, replace it with the digital yuan, and have the digital yuan become the world's currency. If you think about it, they want to overtake the US dollar. So if they're going to take over the US dollar, how are they going to do that with Bitcoin?
Yeah, not with Bitcoin, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. And you
So
can
they'll
already see they've made trade agreements. You've got Iran and some of the other countries, Korea, and a few other, even in the European Union, have joined on to use the yuan as a world currency.
and
So
so
they're
they'll
already
have
making
to
progress.
at some point China will demand that they start using the digital yuan instead. Oh
That's
fuck.
correct.
They're gonna
Yeah.
fucking control the world, dude.
Well, for dropping the F bomb, that is true. I mean, this is why America has enjoyed its dominance for the last 50, 60 years as we've been the world's reserve currency, right? So all of a sudden, if that flips, and this is what I think their goal has been for years, is to overtake us militarily, to be kind of the world's peacekeeper from China, and to take over our currency, right? If I'm on the outside and I'm China, they've got so much dominance, they've got so much power. Why wouldn't they want that last piece, their currency being the world reserve?
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They're gonna push that CBDC
Wait,
their
wait,
own.
wait. Did you just say they're pushing CBD? Nice.
That too. Uh, they're gonna push their digital currency on the rest of the world through force, through
Yeah,
economic force. Wow.
yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
is, and they
Well,
need to get Bitcoin. Don't they actually then need to destroy Bitcoin?
yeah, I think that's probably what they're, gosh, maybe we're figuring it out right now. Maybe that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're trying to do. They're shutting it down. They started in Mongolia. They're going to test that and they're going to see how far they can push that. And they know, being China, that they have the resources to do what they're doing, and maybe they feel like it will collapse if they don't support it the way that they're supporting it today. Because what other government, maybe they're thinking no other government's going to jump in this. Look, even the United States, we don't even come close to comparing in Bitcoin mining to China.
I mean, it's hard to control Bitcoin because it's, well, somewhat decentralized, but if no government in the world is going to support people buying and selling and owning it, then
Yeah.
they could really crush it.
Yeah. Well, it will go back to being a black market item. Anyhow, this sounds pretty interesting. I love the topic. If you're finding value in what Dean and I are discussing off the cuff today, please hit the like and subscribe button below. Dean, I really appreciate your insight as always, and have a great day.
Okay, see you next time.